throwaway account because my stepmom follows my main. Okay, so this is going to be a long one, sorry. I'm still kind of processing everything, and honestly don't even know where to start, but I, female, 22, need some outside perspective because I feel like I'm going crazy in my own house right now. Some background. My mom, Charlene, passed away from breast cancer 4 years ago when I was 18. It was devastating, obviously, and completely turned my life upside down. My dad, Michael, male, 51, and I have basically been a team since then, figuring out how to exist without her. When she was sick, she made my dad promise that I could live at home, rent-free, until I finished college, since she was really worried about me dropping out to work full-time or something. She was always big on education. She was a teacher before she got sick. So I've been living at home while going to the local university, and I'm going to graduate after this fall semester, like literally 4 months from now. Everything was fine until my dad started dating Victoria, female, 46, about 2 years after mom died. I was happy for him at first because he seemed less depressed, but she's always been a lot. She's a real estate agent who's obsessed with appearances and having the perfect everything. I tried to be supportive, even though I had mixed feelings, because I just wanted my dad to be happy. Anyway, they dated for like a year and got married 8 months ago, which honestly felt super fast to me, but whatever. Victoria moved into our house with her daughter Alexa, female, 17, who's kind of quiet and keeps to herself. The thing about my bedroom is that it's not just any room to me. My mom and I completely redesigned it together during my sophomore year of high school, just a few months before she was diagnosed. We painted it together, picked out all the furniture, everything, and after she died, I created this memorial corner with some of her things. Photos of us together. Letters she wrote me when she was in the hospital. This quilt she made during chemo, which was a huge deal because she was so tired but wanted me to have something to remember her by. And this antique jewelry box with old family jewelry that mom wanted me to have for my future wedding someday. Our house has 4 bedrooms. The master where my dad and Victoria sleep now. My bedroom, which is pretty big and has its own bathroom. A smaller bedroom where Alexa is, and a home office where my dad sometimes works from home. I help my dad manage his diabetes since mom died. I remind him about appointments, help him track his blood sugar, etc. Victoria has been slowly changing everything in the house since she moved in. Like all our family photos with my mom have been moved to the basement because they were outdated, her word. The furniture my mom picked out has been replaced with new stuff. It's like she's trying to erase any trace of my mom ever being here. So last night at dinner, Victoria announces that Alexa got accepted to my university, which congrats, I guess, but she never mentioned even applying there, and then tells me I need to find my own place before fall semester starts. I was like, what the frick? And reminded my dad about our agreement that I can stay until graduation. My dad looked super uncomfortable and just said we could talk about it later, but Victoria kept pushing, saying it makes sense for me to move on since I'm older now. Then Alexa starts talking about how she's already looking at bedroom sets for her new room, and I'm just sitting there like, I asked why Alexa can't just keep her current room, and Victoria said Alexa needs the bigger room with the attached bathroom to have the right environment for college. I pointed out that I literally only have 1 semester left, and she just waved her hand dismissively. The worst part is, my dad just sat there and suggested maybe I could start looking at apartments. I felt so betrayed, I just got up and left. I literally couldn't eat another bite. Later that night, I walked past Alexa's room and overheard her and Victoria discussing paint colors for Alexa's new room and talking about turning my mom's memorial corner into a vanity area. I was done. Completely done. My dad has always avoided conflict, but he's never failed to stand up for me or my mom's memory before. I don't even recognize him anymore. My aunt told me recently that mom specifically told dad never to sell our house because it had too many precious memories. So why is he letting Victoria basically erase her? But here's the thing that really made me mad. I came home early from class today, lecture got canceled, and found Victoria in my room with a measuring tape, measuring the walls and making notes on her phone. When I asked what she was doing, she got startled and said she was just getting some preliminary measurements for future planning. Future planning, my ass. I don't know what to do. This is my room. It has my mom's things in it, and I'm supposed to be able to stay here until I graduate. But Victoria is clearly planning to redecorate no matter what I say, and my dad is just letting it happen. Am I crazy for being upset about this? Should I just suck it up and move out? I feel like I'm being pushed out of my own home, and my dad is choosing his new wife over our agreement and over respecting my mom's memory. Now for the first update. My stepmom threw away my dead mom's belongings while I was visiting a friend this weekend, and I just found out I own 40% of our house. First of all, thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. Things have gotten so much worse, and I'm honestly shaking as I type this. I can't even believe what's happened in the last 48 hours. So after that awful dinner where Victoria announced I needed to move out, I straight up refused. I mean, we had an agreement. I stay until graduation, which is literally 4 months away. My dad looked super uncomfortable, as usual, but finally said I could stay until December. Victoria was not happy about this. The last 2 weeks have been awful. Victoria started doing all this passive-aggressive BS, like scheduling potential buyers to view houses during my study time and having them walk through our house as examples of her staging work. She started accidentally using my bathroom and leaving makeup all over the counter and wet towels on the floor. She's been making these little comments at dinner like it's so hard for some young adults to cut the apron strings, and some people just aren't ready for the real world. I mean, I know I have to move out eventually, but we had a deal. Anyway, I've been super stressed with everything going on at home, plus this huge final project for my graphic design degree that's due in 3 weeks. My boss at the campus bookstore has been cool about giving me flexible hours, but I'm still barely making enough for basic expenses, let alone last deposit on an apartment in our area. So my best friend Jordan suggested I come stay with her for the weekend, just to get away for a bit. I was like, yes, please, and packed a bag Friday after my shift. We had this amazing weekend, went to this cute new ramen place downtown, checked out this random street fair we found, and just hung out talking until like 3 a.m. both nights. Jordan thinks I should stand my ground about the house situation. She said my mom made my dad promise, and she wondered how he could just forget that. So I got home Sunday evening around 7 p.m. The house seemed empty. Victoria's car wasn't in the driveway, and the lights were off downstairs. I was actually relieved because I wasn't in the mood to deal with her after having such a nice drama-free weekend. I went upstairs to my room, and guys, I can't even type this without getting upset again. The memorial corner for my mom was completely empty. The shelf with all her photos, gone. The quilt she made during chemo, gone from the chair. The jewelry box with her special items, vanished. All the cards and letters she wrote me from the hospital, nowhere to be seen. I literally started hyperventilating. I tore apart my room looking for everything. Then I searched the whole house. I found the quilt stuffed in the back of the linen closet, but nothing else. I was literally in tears calling my dad, straight to voicemail, when Victoria's car pulled in. I confronted her as soon as she walked in. I asked where my mom's things were and what she did with everything from my memorial corner. Victoria said in a super casual tone that she did some decluttering while I was away and my room needed a refresh. When I asked about my mom's jewelry box and letters, she told me she donated a bunch of old stuff to the charity thrift store downtown. She said the memorial was morbid and unhealthy and that I needed to stop living in the past. When I told her she had no right to touch any of that, she just waved toward the garage and said some of the trash hadn't been picked up yet, adding that I was making too big a deal about this. I ran to the garage and found 2 garbage bags full of my mom's journals, photo albums, and the jewelry box. I was literally sobbing going through everything. The jewelry box was empty. My mom's wedding ring that she wanted me to have someday was gone. When I asked Victoria about it, she said she didn't see any ring and I must be mistaken. My dad finally came home and I told him everything through tears. He said Victoria was just trying to help me move forward and we shouldn't make this a bigger issue than it needs to be. Who is this man? This is not the dad who held me while we both cried after mom died. This is not the dad who promised we would always honor her memory. It's like he's been replaced by someone who just wants to keep Victoria happy no matter what. I spent hours going through those garbage bags, saving what I could. Some of the photos were crumpled or had coffee spilled on them. One of mom's journals had pages torn out. I couldn't even sleep that night. The next day, I started researching tenant rights online to see if they could legally kick me out. I realized I might need my birth certificate and other documents if I had to get my own place, So I went into Dad's office to look for them while everyone was out. And that's when I found it. In a folder marked Important Documents was my parents' will. I read the whole thing, and guys, my mom left me 40% ownership of the house. Dad has 60%, but I legally own 40%. He never told me this. Never mentioned it once in 4 years. But wait, it gets better or worse. I kept looking for my mom's missing ring and decided to check Victoria's jewelry drawer. I know, but I was desperate. Not only did I find my mom's wedding ring in there, but I overheard Victoria on the phone in the backyard saying the last traces of the first wife are finally gone and Alexa will have the room she deserves within a month. I can't even describe how I felt in that moment. So now I'm sitting here with a copy of the will showing I own 40% of this house, and Victoria is planning this big, important dinner tomorrow night with some super wealthy clients who might list their expensive home with her. She's been talking non-stop about how this listing could make her career, and she's taking Alexa to the dinner and then to tour the house afterward. Something about Alexa needing to make connections with the right people. They'll be gone for at least 4 hours. I think it's time I remind everyone whose house this actually is. Edit. To the people asking if I'm sure about the will, yes, it's legit. It's signed, notarized, the whole thing. I took pictures of every page just in case. Edit 2. Someone asked about my dad's diabetes. Yes, I'm still helping him manage it even though I'm furious with him. I reminded him about his endocrinologist appointment tomorrow morning and made sure his glucose monitoring stuff was set up. I'm mad, but I'm not going to let his health suffer. Edit 3. A lot of people are suggesting I talk to a lawyer before doing anything. I get it. But honestly, lawyers are expensive, and I barely have enough money for ramen right now. And this isn't just about legal ownership. It's about respect and my mom's memory. Now for the second update. So, a lot has happened since my last post. First of all, thank you for all the comments and advice, especially the people who told me to talk to a lawyer before doing anything crazy. That turned out to be really good advice. After I found the will showing I owned 40% of the house, I spent like the next 2 days completely obsessed with researching property law online instead of working on my design project, which I'm now super behind on, lol, but whatever. This was more important. I was honestly shocked that my dad never mentioned this to me in 4 years. Like, how do you just forget to tell your daughter she partially owns your house? I called my mom's old attorney. I found his business card in her things, and he confirmed that yes, the will was legit and I really do own 40% of our house. He seemed really surprised that I didn't know about it and said my dad had a legal obligation to disclose this to me when I turned 21. So basically, my dad has been hiding this from me for over a year. I also called my Aunt Lisa, my mom's sister, and she was furious. Like, I've never heard her this mad before. She was already upset about how Victoria has been erasing my mom from the house, but when I told her about the jewelry box and the ring, she literally started crying. She kept saying Mom would be devastated and used her nickname Char. She offered to let me stay with her if things got worse, which was nice of her. The hardest part was acting normal at home while planning what to do. I had to pretend everything was fine around Victoria and my dad. Like on Tuesday, my dad needed help with some computer issue, and I had to sit there helping him reset his email password while inside I was screaming about how he lied to me about the house. But I just smiled and acted like nothing was wrong. I even had a job interview for a post-graduation position on Wednesday morning, and then came home and complimented Victoria on her new business cards that she would not stop talking about. She was going on about the special matte finish that elevates the branding, and I just nodded and said they looked professional while plotting the whole time. Victoria has been obsessing over this dinner with these rich clients for like the entire week. Apparently, they have this massive house in the fancy part of town that they want to sell, and the commission would be huge. Victoria kept talking about how landing this listing would get her featured in the local real estate magazine and establish her in the luxury market, whatever that means. She was being extra demanding about everything all week. Yesterday morning, she made me promise to stay out of sight and not mess anything up. Her exact words, before the clients came over for pre-dinner drinks. She even made me park my car down the street so the driveway would look more presentable without my 10-year-old Honda next to her BMW. Like, sorry, my car isn't fancy enough for your image. Alexa seemed weirdly excited about this dinner too. Victoria kept telling her how important it was to make friends with the Henderson's daughter who goes to some fancy private school. She literally told Alexa to make connections with the right people, which sounded super gross and fake to me. But Alexa was all dressed up, and Victoria kept fussing over her hair and outfit. I waited until they left for the restaurant. Victoria made a big deal about how they were going to some expensive steakhouse and then touring the Hendersons' other properties afterward. I confirmed they'd be gone at least 4 hours based on the schedule Victoria left on the kitchen counter. As soon as they drove away, I started implementing my plan. I grabbed a bunch of suitcases from the basement and some moving boxes my dad had in the garage. Then, I systematically went through and packed up all of Victoria's belongings from the master bedroom, bathroom, and closet. I want to be clear, I wasn't destructive or anything. I folded everything neatly and packed it carefully. I just removed all her stuff from my dad's room. Her designer clothes, her makeup, her weird crystal collection, her vision board. Yes, she has an actual vision board with pictures of mansions and luxury cars, everything. And guys, while I was packing up her stuff, I found some really interesting things in her nightstand. There was this folder hidden under some magazines that had Alexa's academic records in it. Turns out Alexa is actually on academic probation at her high school and got rejected from my university. Victoria has been completely lying about Alexa getting accepted. Even crazier, I found Alexa's diary. I know I probably shouldn't have read it, but after everything Victoria's done, I felt justified. In it, Alexa wrote that she never actually wanted my room, but felt pressured by her mom to pretend she was excited about it. She wrote about how her mom puts constant pressure on her to maintain this perfect image and how scared she is of disappointing her. I actually felt really bad for her after reading that. Once I had all Victoria's stuff packed up, I carried everything to the front lawn and arranged it neatly. I made a sign that said, "Since you made space by removing my mother's things, I helped you make space too. P.S. I own 40% of this house," and attached a copy of the will to it. I also put my mom's wedding ring on my finger where it belongs. Then, I placed Alexa's academic records and some pages from her diary on her bed with a note saying I understood what it was like to be pressured and that I sympathized with her. When Victoria's car pulled into the driveway around 9 p.m., followed by this huge black Range Rover, I watched from the living room window. Victoria stepped out of her car and literally froze when she saw all her stuff on the lawn. The look on her face was priceless. One of the clients got out of the Range Rover and asked Victoria about what looked like a garage sale. Victoria just stood there stammering that there must be some mistake. That's when I walked outside, wearing my mom's ring and holding the property deed. Victoria hissed at me to fix this immediately, but I was done being pushed around. I told her that I wouldn't accept being disrespected in a house that I partially own. Victoria tried to salvage the situation, telling the clients some BS about a family misunderstanding, but they were clearly uncomfortable. Alexa slipped past everyone and ran inside. Then my dad pulled up from work, and his face when he saw everything, he looked shocked. I told everyone, including the clients, how Victoria had thrown away my dead mother's belongings and stolen her wedding ring. The clients exchanged this look and then made some excuse about needing to get home. Right as they were leaving, Alexa came back outside, crying and holding the academic records. Victoria completely turned on her, demanding to know why she failed those classes, and Alexa just broke. She started sobbing and told everyone she never wanted my room and has been miserable trying to meet Victoria's impossible standards. Victoria was screaming at both of us for ruining everything, but then something amazing happened. My dad finally grew a spine. He looked at the will in his hand and acknowledged that the house belongs to me too. Victoria gave him this ice-cold look and told him he had to choose between her or me in the house, probably expecting him to choose her like he always does. But he didn't. Victoria grabbed her purse and stormed off, saying she was going to her sister's house and that she'd be back when my dad remembered who his real family is. After she left, I felt kind of guilty about involving Alexa in everything. She was still crying in her room, so I knocked on her door to talk. We ended up having this really honest conversation where she told me how Victoria has always put this intense pressure on her to be perfect. Perfect grades, perfect appearance, perfect everything. She said she was actually relieved that the truth was out because she's been stressed about keeping up the lie about university. I offered to help her improve her grades and apply to schools she actually wants to attend. Turns out she's interested in culinary school, but Victoria thinks that's beneath them. My dad finally apologized for not standing up for me and admitted he's been avoiding conflict since Mom died. He said he knew Victoria was pushing too hard about the room, but he just wanted everyone to get along. He also apologized for not telling me about the will and my ownership of the house. Victoria came back yesterday to get her stuff off the lawn. She's apparently staying with her sister until Dad comes to his senses. She barely looked at any of us. Dad and I called the charity thrift store where Victoria donated some of Mom's things. They were really nice and let us come look through recent donations. We found a few of Mom's photo albums and one of her journals, but a lot of stuff was already gone. The jewelry is probably gone forever, except for the wedding ring I managed to get back. Dad and I visited Mom's grave yesterday for the first time in months. He actually cried and told me he's been trying so hard to move forward that he didn't properly honor her memory. It was really emotional. Victoria and Dad are supposedly going to try marriage counseling, but honestly, I don't know if that's going to work. Alexa and I have been hanging out a lot the last 2 days, and I think we're actually becoming friends. I've decided to postpone moving out after graduation so I can help her prepare for community college. We made a new memorial space for my mom in the living room, smaller than what I had in my room, but in a place where everyone can see it and remember her. I still can't believe how everything turned out. I'm exhausted, but also relieved that the truth is finally out.